Snowflakes fell like tiny pieces of glass beneath the dim winter sun, blanketing the hospital parking lot in a quiet, unforgiving white. Amid the frozen silence, a lone German shepherd sat at the entrance, motionless, watchful and shivering. His breath came out in soft clouds, his amber eyes fixed on the glass doors that never opened for him. Each time someone entered or left, his ears perked up, his tail gave a single hopeful wag, and then drooped again. For 5 endless days he hadn't moved from that spot. The nurses called him the soldier, the guards called him the watcher, but no one knew why he was there, or who he was waiting for. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the loyalty that only a dog's heart can hold, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Pawsitive Tales, because stories like this remind us that love doesn't need words to be understood. The hospital staff had grown used to his presence. Some left food near the edge of the sidewalk, others placed a blanket out for him, but he rarely touched it. He seemed to live for something beyond hunger, beyond comfort, something deeper, invisible. Each night, as snow gathered around his paws, he stayed seated in the same spot, his eyes tracing the lights in the 3rd-floor window. That was where the ICU was. That was where his world had ended, though none of them knew it yet. It all began a week earlier, on a stretch of icy road that cut through the forest outside the city. A pickup truck had skidded on black ice and crashed into a guardrail. Inside was a man, a police officer named Ryan Hale, and his K9 partner Archer. They had been together for nearly 6 years, partners through raids, rescues, and long nights of patrols. The impact had been brutal. Ryan had been found unconscious, pulled from the wreck with broken ribs and internal bleeding. Archer, miraculously alive but limping, had refused to leave his side, even as paramedics worked on him. They said the dog had growled at anyone who came too close until Ryan was safely inside the ambulance. When they reached the hospital, Archer tried to follow, but a nurse had gently held him back. The doors closed, and that was the last time he saw his partner. For days, Archer waited at those doors. Every time the automatic glass slid open, his ears shot up in desperate hope. But Ryan never came. The hospital staff pitied him, but had to keep him outside. Rules were rules, no animals allowed in the emergency or patient areas. And so, through freezing winds and relentless nights, Archer stayed. On the 3rd night, a janitor named Sam noticed something strange. Whenever the wind howled or snow fell heavier, Archer would look up at that same 3rd-floor window and whimper softly, as if sensing something beyond human understanding. Sam started bringing him scraps of food, gently talking to him through the cold. But the dog's eyes remained fixed upward, unwavering. Inside that window, Officer Ryan lay unconscious, fighting for his life. The doctors said his chances were slim. Head trauma, multiple fractures, internal bleeding. They did everything they could, but his body was losing strength. What no one could see, however, was the bond that stretched invisibly between that room and the freezing dog below. It was as if Archer could feel his partner's fading heartbeat with every flicker of the lights above him. By the 5th day, the snow had turned into a silent storm. The hospital parking lot was nearly empty, except for the guard on duty and the German shepherd sitting like a statue of devotion. His fur was frosted white, his eyes half closed, but he refused to move. That morning Sam approached him again and said softly, "Buddy, you'll freeze to death out here." But Archer only blinked and looked toward the window again. That's when something miraculous happened. The light in Ryan's ICU room flickered, then dimmed. Archer stood up suddenly, whining, pacing in small circles as if sensing something terrible. Moments later, the monitor in Ryan's room went flat. The doctors rushed in, alarms blaring, hands working desperately to bring him back. Down below, Archer let out a long, mournful howl that echoed through the parking lot, slicing through the snowstorm like a cry from another world. And then, the impossible happened. Inside the ICU, Ryan's heartbeat flickered back, faint but steady. One of the nurses later swore that it was the moment she heard that dog's howl that the heart monitor began to beep again. The doctors called it coincidence, but to everyone else, it was something more. When Ryan finally woke, groggy and weak, the first words he whispered were, "Where's Archer?" The staff exchanged nervous glances. They told him about the dog outside, how he hadn't left for days. Ryan's eyes filled with tears. "He thinks I left him," he whispered. "He never gives up. Not on anyone." That evening, despite medical advice, Ryan insisted on being wheeled to the entrance. When the automatic doors opened, Archer's head shot up instantly. For a second, the world froze. Then the German Shepherd leaped forward, tail wagging furiously, crying in sheer joy. Ryan reached out with trembling hands, and Archer buried his head in his lap, whimpering as if apologizing for something he never did wrong. The entire hospital staff stood silent, some wiping tears from their eyes. But the story didn't end there. Doctors soon realized that Archer's paw was severely injured from the crash. One of the nurses, touched by the reunion, arranged for a veterinarian to come in. Ryan refused to let Archer go through surgery alone. He stayed with him, his hand resting on his fur the entire time. For both of them, survival had become a shared mission. As the days passed, Ryan recovered slowly, and Archer's leg healed. Their bond became a story whispered through the hospital halls, of loyalty that defied logic, of love that transcended pain. The doctors, who had once seen Archer as just another stray, began visiting him daily, finding comfort in his quiet presence. One snowy evening, when Ryan was strong enough to walk again, he stood beside Archer in the same spot they had first reunited. He looked at the snow-covered path and whispered, "Guess we made it through again." "Partner," Archer looked up at him with those steady amber eyes, eyes that had never stopped believing. From that day on, Ryan made it his mission to visit hospitals and rehabilitation centers with Archer. Together, they comforted patients, children and veterans, reminding them that love, loyalty and hope could heal wounds deeper than the body could ever show. Archer became a therapy dog, his quiet presence bringing peace to those who had lost it. And every time they entered a hospital, Ryan would smile and tell the staff, "He's not here to wait anymore. He's here to help others find their reason to hold on." If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe to Pawsitive Tales. Your support helps us continue sharing real stories of loyalty, courage, and second chances that the world needs to remember. Special request, tell us in the comments, what does loyalty mean to you?